Good evening, and welcome to Education Forward, your dedicated weekly broadcast where we critically examine the evolving landscape of teaching and learning in the 21st century. Tonight we are tackling a particularly engaging and often vigorously debated topic. Are single-gender classrooms genuinely beneficial for learning, especially when it comes to certain academic subjects? This question carries considerable weight in contemporary educational discourse, as educators, parents, and policymakers continuously seek innovative methods to optimize student engagement, foster inclusivity, and ultimately enhance academic success for all. To help us navigate this complex issue, we are joined by two highly respected guest speakers with differing viewpoints. Dr. Eleanor Vance is an accomplished educational psychologist. She will be presenting the case for the potential advantages of single-gender classrooms, particularly when applied thoughtfully within specific educational contexts and for certain student populations. And Mr. Ben Carter, a distinguished sociologist and a former secondary school teacher with extensive classroom experience, will articulate the arguments against this educational model, placing a strong emphasis on holistic social development and real-world preparedness. Our format tonight will include opening statements from both Dr. Vance and Mr. Carter, followed by a moderated discussion where we will delve deeper into key aspects of this topic, and we will conclude with their closing remarks. A warm welcome to you both.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's a genuine pleasure to be here to contribute to this vital conversation on educational strategies. My core assertion this evening is that single-gender classrooms, when implemented with careful consideration and pedagogical expertise, can indeed cultivate more effective and supportive learning environments. This is particularly true for certain subjects and for specific cohorts of students, often during crucial developmental phases like early adolescence. A significant advantage we often observe is the notable reduction in gender stereotyping and its associated pressures. In a single-gender setting, students may feel a greater sense of freedom to explore subjects that, in mainstream culture, are sometimes perceived as being dominated by the other gender. For example, young women might feel more encouraged to pursue advanced STEM fields like engineering or coding, while young men might feel more at ease engaging deeply with literature, poetry, or the performing arts, without the implicit or explicit weight of traditional gender role expectations. This liberation from stereotype threat can allow genuine individual interests and nascent passions to flourish, unencumbered by societal biases about what they ought to excel at or find engaging. Furthermore, educators in single-gender classrooms possess the unique opportunity to tailor their pedagogical approaches more specifically. While it is absolutely essential to recognize the wide spectrum of learning styles present within any gender group, some research does indicate discernible general trends. For instance, certain studies suggest that, on average, boys might respond well to more kinesthetic learning, competitive elements, and structured problem-solving in subjects like mathematics, whereas girls might thrive in environments that emphasize collaborative projects, detailed discussion, and reflective writing in humanities subjects. This isn't about applying rigid, stereotypical teaching methods, but rather about possessing the flexibility to employ a broader range of strategies that may resonate more powerfully with a particular group, thus enhancing both engagement and conceptual understanding. We also frequently witness a boost in student confidence and classroom participation. In many co-educational settings, particularly during the self-conscious period of adolescence, some students may be hesitant to voice their opinions, ask challenging questions, or take intellectual risks, especially in subjects where their gender is traditionally underrepresented or faces negative stereotypes. A single-gender environment can substantially alleviate this pressure, thereby creating a, quote, safe space where students feel more comfortable expressing nascent ideas, actively participating in discussions, and engaging more fully with the curriculum, all of which are fundamental for profound learning experiences. Consider, for instance, the potential impact on young women in advanced physics or computer programming, or young men in dance or textile arts. In these specific contexts, removing the complex gender dynamic can sometimes unlock hidden potential and build critical self-efficacy and resilience. It is crucial, however, to emphatically state that this approach is not presented as a panacea or a universal replacement for coeducation, which holds its own significant merits. Instead, single-gender education should be viewed as a valuable, specialized option, a strategic tool in the educator's toolkit that can be exceptionally beneficial under specific circumstances, for carefully chosen subjects, and during particular developmental stages, all with the aim of helping every student achieve their full academic and personal potential.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate the platform to offer a counterpoint to Dr. Vance's perspective on this important educational issue. While I acknowledge the well-intentioned arguments regarding tailored learning environments, I hold the firm conviction that single-gender classrooms are, by and large, not beneficial for students and, in many cases, can actually be detrimental to their comprehensive development and their capacity to contribute to a harmonious and integrated society. One of the fundamental purposes of schooling, extending beyond mere academic instruction, is to adequately prepare young individuals for the multifaceted world they will eventually inhabit, a world that is, without any doubt, thoroughly mixed gender in all its spheres. Our workplaces, our communities, our civic institutions, and indeed our families, are all inherently integrated environments. It is therefore imperative that students learn from an early age how to collaborate effectively, communicate clearly, and navigate complex social relationships with individuals of all genders respectfully and productively. The act of separating students based on gender, even when motivated by the desire to improve academic outcomes, can paradoxically reinforce the very gender stereotypes that contemporary education strives to dismantle. It risks subtly conveying the message that boys and girls are so fundamentally different in their learning styles or capabilities that they cannot learn effectively alongside one another, or that certain academic disciplines are intrinsically male domains or female domains, which is a scientifically unfounded and socially regressive notion. Moreover, students educated in single-gender classrooms are often deprived of the rich tapestry of diverse perspectives, intellectual approaches, and problem-solving strategies that naturally emerge from sustained mixed-gender interactions. Learning to understand, appreciate, and synthesize these differing viewpoints is an absolutely critical skill for fostering innovation, developing robust critical thinking abilities, and this is best cultivated in an environment that mirrors the actual diversity of our society. The aspect of social development is, in my view, paramount and cannot be overstated. Essential social competencies, such as empathy, the ability to negotiate, understanding diverse communication styles, forming healthy and respectful interpersonal relationships, are primarily honed through regular, daily, and often spontaneous interactions with a broad spectrum of peers, most significantly including those of different genders. To segregate students during these crucial formative years is to effectively limit their opportunities for these vital, organic learning experiences. Finally, there is a very practical and significant concern regarding the potential for inequity and unequal provision. Implementing single-gender classrooms on a widespread basis could easily lead to pronounced disparities in resource allocation, the quality and experience of teaching staff, or even significant variations in curriculum emphasis between, for example, an all-boys physics class and an all-girls physics class, or between different schools that choose to adopt such programs. Ensuring genuine equity and consistent standards across such a fragmented system would present an immense logistical and ethical challenge, and the risk of certain student groups being inadvertently disadvantaged is considerable. Our primary focus, therefore, should be on creating universally inclusive, high-quality coeducational environments that serve all students well.
Thank you both for those very articulate and comprehensive opening statements. which have clearly set the stage for our discussion. Dr. Vance, you spoke compellingly about the potential for tailored teaching. Could you please elaborate further on specific academic subjects where you believe single-gender settings can demonstrably improve outcomes, perhaps referencing any specific research or notable case studies? And Mr. Carter, after Dr. Vance has responded, I'd like to hear your primary concerns regarding the robustness or interpretation of the evidence that supports such claims, and your perspective on this idea of subject-specific benefits versus universal good teaching practices.
Certainly, Alex. When we examine subjects historically showing gender disparities in participation or achievement, like advanced physics or computer science, some compelling research and numerous case studies suggest that young women in single-gender environments often report significantly higher levels of confidence, demonstrate greater persistence through challenging material, and are subsequently more likely to pursue these subjects at tertiary levels and as careers. This improvement is not necessarily about a difference in innate aptitude, but more often about creating an academic atmosphere where stereotype threat, that is, the anxiety and self-doubt experienced when one fears confirming a negative stereotype about their social group, is substantially mitigated. For teaching styles, imagine a girls-only advanced mathematics class. The educator might employ more extended collaborative problem-solving sessions, peer teaching modules, and relate concepts to real-world scenarios that resonate with their documented interests, approaches some studies suggest are particularly effective for boosting female engagement in quantitative fields. Conversely, in subjects like language arts or modern foreign languages, where boys sometimes lag behind girls in engagement or attainment, a single-gender classroom might allow for the use of more competitive learning games, action-oriented projects, or texts with themes that particularly capture their interest, without fear of peer judgment for appearing too keen or not masculine enough. The central idea is the strategic reduction of gender-based social dynamics that can inadvertently act as barriers to academic exploration and achievement.
Dr. Vance presents some interesting anecdotal and specific research findings, but I must emphasize that the overall conclusiveness and generalizability of such research remain highly contested within the broader educational research community. Many studies that purport to show clear benefits for single-gender classrooms have been subsequently criticized for significant methodological limitations or for failing to adequately control for other crucial confounding variables that could explain the observed differences. For example, are the positive outcomes truly a direct result of the gender separation itself, or are they more likely attributable to factors such as significantly smaller class sizes, which allow for more individualized attention, the presence of highly motivated and specially trained teachers who actively choose to participate in such programs, or even the Hawthorne effect, where subjects improve simply because they are part of an experiment and receiving more attention? We also need to consider the increased parental involvement and investment that often accompanies specialized or pilot educational initiatives. Furthermore, it's important to acknowledge that there is a substantial and growing body of research that indicates no significant academic advantage to single-gender education, and some reputable studies even suggest potential negative long-term effects, particularly concerning the development of attitudes towards the other gender and preparedness for diverse workplaces. My fundamental position is that excellent teaching practices, which include clear and engaging instruction, effective differentiation to meet diverse learning needs, the creation of a genuinely supportive and respectful classroom culture, and the provision of timely and constructive feedback, are universally beneficial to all students, irrespective of the gender composition of their classroom. Our focus should be on equipping all teachers with these essential skills within integrated educational settings.
Let's pivot our discussion slightly now, moving beyond the purely academic outcomes. What are the broader implications of single-gender classrooms for students' social skills development and their overall psychological well-being? This is a critical dimension of education. Dr. Vance, you alluded earlier to these environments potentially fostering greater confidence and reducing anxiety. Could you expand on how this might occur? And Mr. Carter, from your perspective, what are the most significant risks or downsides to healthy social and emotional development that might arise from such segregated learning environments?
From a developmental psychology standpoint, particularly during the frequently tumultuous and self-aware period of early to mid-adolescence, a single-gender educational environment can, for certain students, offer a significantly less distracting and more emotionally supportive space. This can be incredibly valuable. The reduction in the intensity of social pressures, often related to impressing, competing with, or navigating romantic or social dynamics with the other gender, can lead to a noticeable lowering of ambient anxiety levels. This, in turn, allows students to dedicate more cognitive and emotional resources to their studies and to their own personal development and self-discovery. This atmosphere can directly contribute to increased self-esteem and academic confidence, as students may feel more empowered to be authentically themselves, to ask silly questions without fear of judgment, and to explore their individual identities without the constant, often subconscious, filtering of their behavior through the lens of gendered expectations from their peers. For a naturally shy girl in a demanding science class, or for a creatively inclined boy in a highly sports-focused co-educational school, this specialized environment can be profoundly empowering and affirming. It's important to clarify that this approach is not about entirely eliminating social interaction with other genders. Rather, it's about providing a focused academic haven during school hours. Robust social skills can still be effectively developed through well-designed inter-school events, structured extracurricular activities, community service projects, and, naturally, through all their social interactions outside of the school context.
While I can appreciate the argument that some students might experience a temporary reduction in certain social anxieties in a single-gender setting, I believe this approach fundamentally sidesteps and perhaps even undermines the crucial educational task of teaching students how to navigate complex, mixed-gender environments effectively and with confidence. The daily, lived experience of a mixed-gender classroom serves as an invaluable microcosm of the wider society these students will enter. It is precisely in these integrated settings that students organically learn and practice a host of vital life skills: how to communicate clearly and respectfully across perceived differences, how to develop genuine empathy for perspectives that may differ significantly from their own, how to collaborate effectively on group projects with individuals who possess varied strengths and communication styles, and how to resolve inevitable conflicts in a constructive and mature manner. Intentionally segregating students by gender risks creating an artificial bubble that doesn't adequately prepare them for the nuanced realities of modern workplaces, community engagement, and adult social relationships. Such separation can inadvertently lead to an unrealistic, incomplete, or even heavily stereotyped understanding of the other gender, potentially fostering awkwardness, miscommunication, prejudice, or difficulties in forming healthy cross-gender professional and personal relationships in the future. The critical question we must ask is whether creating a temporary safe space by removing a fundamental and ubiquitous aspect of societal interaction truly equips students for long-term psychological resilience and social competence in the diverse, interconnected world they are destined to inhabit. I contend that, in many cases, it does not, and may instead delay the development of these essential adaptive skills.
In bringing my remarks to a close, I wish to strongly reiterate that advocating for the option of single-gender classrooms is by no means a call for a wholesale shift towards gender segregation in education. Instead, it is a carefully considered acknowledgement that such an approach can serve as a highly effective, specialized, and context-sensitive educational tool designed to meet specific needs for particular student groups at certain times. The potential benefits we've discussed, including the opportunity for more precisely targeted instructional strategies in subjects where gendered learning patterns might be observed, a tangible reduction in the impact of stereotype threat, which can significantly inhibit learning and aspiration, and the crucial fostering of greater confidence and more active participation for some students who might otherwise be marginalized, are sufficiently significant to warrant its thoughtful and judicious consideration within our educational repertoire. Ultimately, the overarching goal for all educators and policymakers should be to embrace and thoughtfully implement a diverse array of evidence-informed pedagogical strategies. This includes single-gender options where appropriate, in order to better cater to the unique individual learning journeys, diverse developmental needs, and varied strengths of all our students. A flexible, open-minded, and nuanced approach is not just beneficial, but essential for progressive education.
To conclude my perspective this evening, while I fully respect the positive intentions that often motivate the establishment of single-gender educational programs, I must maintain that our foremost and most fundamental educational responsibility is to prepare students comprehensively and realistically for the inherently mixed-gender world they will undoubtedly live, work, and engage in as adults. The significant risks associated with this model, such as the inadvertent reinforcement of outdated gender stereotypes, the potential limitation of crucial social skill development in realistic and diverse contexts, and the persistent lack of conclusive, widely generalizable evidence for its consistent academic superiority across diverse populations, in my professional opinion, substantially outweigh the purported, often narrowly defined, benefits. I firmly believe that our collective efforts, our valuable resources, and our policy focus are far better invested in systematically enhancing the quality of teaching for all educators, actively promoting genuine inclusivity and equity within all classrooms, and ensuring truly equitable learning opportunities within our existing mixed-gender educational structures. These co-educational environments are, and should remain, the primary and most effective training grounds for life in a complex and diverse global society.
And with those compelling final thoughts, we must draw this evening's stimulating debate to a close. Dr. Vance has eloquently argued that single-gender classrooms, when strategically applied, can indeed be a valuable and targeted educational tool, potentially boosting student confidence and enhancing academic engagement, particularly in specific subjects, by allowing for tailored teaching methodologies and reducing the negative impact of stereotype threat. Conversely, Mr. Carter has forcefully contended that such segregated environments may inadvertently hinder essential real-world preparation, risk reinforcing unhelpful gender stereotypes, and he highlighted that the evidence for clear and consistent academic benefits remains a subject of ongoing debate, advocating instead for a concerted focus on robust, inclusive coeducation for all students. I wish to extend my most sincere gratitude to both of our distinguished speakers, Dr. Eleanor Vance and Mr. Ben Carter, for their incredibly insightful, articulate, and thought-provoking contributions to this very important and ongoing discussion in education today. The question of how best to structure our learning environments to meet the diverse needs of all students is undoubtedly a complex one, with many valid arguments and deeply held convictions on all sides. We sincerely hope that tonight's broadcast has encouraged our listeners to reflect on these multifaceted complexities and to consider what approaches might genuinely be most beneficial for students in a variety of different contexts and communities. Thank you.